Today we're going to be working on a kit from Warhammer the Old World. This kit is from the Empire of Man. It is the General of the Empire on the Imperial Griffon. Now, usually when I paint mounted figures, I paint them separately. I take the mounted figure off so it gives me better access to both the figure itself and the details on it, and of course the details on the mount. Now I'm going to be doing this video, or this Griffon and this rider, the General, a little bit different than what's on the box art, because I wasn't too fond of it, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to do it basically in the color of a bald eagle. So I'm going to make most of this that you see is going to be the brown of the bald eagle and the highlight of its feathers, plus the white head and the white mane back here on the tail to kind of add some contrast. And of course we're going to make the claws yellow just like the eagle. And what I'm going to start out with on all the feathers and the back part here, all the way down the back part of the lion, because you know it's a griffin, so it's a front part of the eagle, front part, back part's the lion. The color I'm going to start out with for this whole area is going to be Black Legion. And basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to work this all into the nooks and crannies, nice and smooth, and it'll give me a nice dark base coat to work from. And again, I'm going to put this all over the leaves and all over the feathers. Leaves, jeez. And the back body, the line, and the claws here. And then we'll move on from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that, because it's going to take us quite a bit, so it's going to take me quite a while, and I don't think you want to sit there and watch me paint every part of this Griffon, and we'll be back just as soon as we're done. All right, now that we got the black Templar all applied all over, what we're going to go to next is the mane on the back here and the heads. And the color we're going to start with on that is some Nuln Oil. We'll go ahead and get that all in there and get it nice and spread out. Nuln Oil goes nice into those crevices, the details, so you get some nice depth to your figure. And we'll come back later and highlight it with some other whites to bring it out. Well, it may look a little dark right now. But what it's doing is getting the Nuln Oil darkness into the crevices, into the cracks, so you get the depth around there. And it does give it a nice pale base on the flat parts when you spread it out nice. It's actually one of the paints I use extremely frequently throughout my painting. And like I said, we're going to do this on both the heads here and on the fur at the end of the tail. And I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. And then when I'm done, I will be right back and we'll show you the next step. All right, now that we got all that Nuln Oil applied, we're going to go ahead and do the beaks and the claws. And the color we're going to start with on this one is Skeleton Horde. Yeah, it doesn't look super yellow right now. We'll take care of it later, but it is getting nicely into those little recesses, as you can see. It does have a nice good base coat with which to work from. We'll kind of try to spread it out a little bit so it doesn't get too concentrated. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish applying the skeleton horde to the claws and the beaks, and then we'll be right back. Okay, now that we got all that skeleton horde applied, both to the claws and the beak, we're going to go ahead and work on the breastplate a little bit. And we're going to work on the flat areas of the metal of the armor. And the color we're going to start out with, I'm going to use for this, is some thin down gray night steel. Now this is a very bright color, and it's got just a fantastic tint of bluish silver to it, which I just really like. I've used it on other figures that I have, like for Aegis Sigma, or I'm sorry, for my Bretonnians, which I'll do some videos on some more stuff for them later. This is the base color. It pops. It's really quite nice. Gives you a very, very nice base color to work from. It's not a color I'd use for something like Warriors or Chaos or something like that. But I think for Empire or Bretonnians, it'll work quite nicely for the knightly orders of the Empire, or the armor for your Bretonnian knights. And whereas I haven't done them yet, I would think this would probably be might be a good color for silver helms for the high elves, something like that. But this is actually one of my absolutely favorite colors in the Citadel line. So I'm trying to do it so I don't go over the other sculptings to kind of save myself some work later on. But one thing that did happen here that I'd like to point out is when I was doing the Black Templar, a little bit of this got over onto, a little bit of Black Templar got over on the breastplate. And this is an example of when you're planning out your work and how you're going to do, what you're going to paint, and in what order. This is something I'm not worried about, going over a little bit from the Black Templar into this metallic, because the metallic, even thinned, right, to make it a little, so it flows nice and easy, covers it right up. So if you plan your work based on the colors and what they are, then you can actually save yourself some time, and you don't have to sit there and clean up each stage as you go along. The next stage you go along, like this one, you can clean up the previous ones. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish up the rest of this detail on this fantastically detailed breastplate on this Griffon, and we will go ahead and be right back. All right, now that's all done, we're going to move on to the next color. And start working on, keep working on the wings and feathers and the body. And the next color is going to be Rhinox Hide. I'm going to use it to dry brush. I'm going to do a circular motion dry brush. I'm probably going to want to do a fairly heavy dry brush, so we can slowly build up that nice brown color that the bald eagle has on its feathers and body. And we're going to go ahead and keep through that same dry brush back here on the body as well. Maybe not quite as heavy, we'll kind of play it by ear, see how it goes. In here, the goal is going to be basically get most of the brown around the edges and try to leave some of the dark, some of the black in the middle. If you want to do it in a circular motion, and if you have a round dry brush like this would be preferable. I think some people even use makeup brushes as well. This particular one is an Army Painter dry brush. All right, I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this, and I will get back to you when I'm done. Top tip to remember, okay, when you're doing this dry brush, you're doing a circular motion, right? But don't always just do it the same way. I'd advise this one. I'm going over it once in one direction, right? Clockwise here, and then I'll reverse it counterclockwise to catch the other things. That's what you want to do. You don't want to always do it in the same direction, because then you're going to miss a bunch of stuff, right? So we do it clockwise here, right? And then go back and do it counterclockwise. Clockwise, counterclockwise. And that's the way you go over it all again, right? Do clockwise, 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 and then counterclockwise in order to get it all in there. All right, I'm going to finish this up. Just wanted to make sure you had that tip as well. Thanks. Okay, now that we got all that Rhinox Hide dry brush on there, we're going to get to the next color. We're going to work on the head and the tail a little bit, and we're going to use some Corax White. And slowly but surely we'll build that up, trying not to, just trying to get the edge, the flat parts of it. Leaving the shading. Just kind of going with the edges, just so we can get in here. I'll go ahead and work a little bit on the head here, kind of going with it. Don't want to get too much into the recesses, and you lose that difference in color, and hit the higher parts up here, because you can see it's a little textured. It is a nice job. Just get it in there. A little tough underneath the reins. This here might be an argument for leaving this off and painting it and putting this back on after you do the heads. It's one of the things you got to look at when you're assembling a model, is are you going to be adding stuff to it so it makes it really hard to get to some areas or not. That's why I always paint the shield separate and the rider separate, to try to eliminate as much of that as I can. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this part up, and then I'll get right back to you. All right, now that step's done, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next one, and that will be, we're gonna work on the claws a little bit and the beaks. The color we're gonna use is gonna be some Casandora Yellow. Not a whole lot. You wanna get in here and just, it'll give it a little bit more of a yellow, nice yellow tint to it, really pop a little more. But we don't want to, but it's kind of thin, so still we don't want to put too much on, so we don't want to overdo it. When in doubt, put on a little bit less, because you can always cover it with another thin coat. One thin coat doesn't work, two thin coats will. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this part up and then we'll be right back. All right. Now that we got all that Casandora Yellow on there, we're gonna move on to the next step. And we're gonna start working on some of the details on the chest plate. First thing we're gonna tackle is all this parchment here, 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 and here. And this is a little different. The color we're gonna use for this is some Seraphim Sepia. Go ahead and spread it on there. Keep it neat, but if it gets a little bit on the edges, that's okay. Helps differentiate the two, adding a little depth. Here, we got some lettering with the 4 major gods of the Empire. On this side we got Moore and Ulrich. You see Ulrich there. And I got some of the same stuff over here. Here we got Sigmar Heldenhammer. And here we got Tall. I'm going to go ahead and finish this part up, and then we'll be right back with the next step. Now that step's done, we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to take down some thinned down Retributor Armor. We're going to paint in some details on the breastplate. Most times you want to thin your paint down some so it doesn't clog up the details. It makes it easier to paint because it flows off the brush better too. Exactly how much, I've seen different people say different amounts. But just so I like to get it so it flows off the brush pretty well, kind of like this. But not so it's too opaque. Because whereas you can do a lot of times 2 thin coats, I like to see if I can get it in 1 coat if I can. If I need to, then I'll do 2 thin coats, but otherwise I'd rather just kind of get it done. A lot of times when I take my paint out, I would take my brush out of the paint. To get a tip, I kind of pull it along and twist it. That gives me a nice tip. And it takes a little bit of the excess paint off that I accidentally pulled out. I load up my brush a little bit too much. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this part up and I'll be right back. All right, now that's done. You can see we got some nice Retributor Armor working on that chest plate. We're going to go ahead and move on to the saddle. And the color we're going to use for that is going to be some Retributor Armor, just like this. Just like the breastplate. Go ahead and get it all in there. There we go. see it a little better that way. It's a little tricky to get in here, but we can manage. All right, I'm going to go and finish this up, and then we'll be back to the next step. Now that's done, we're going to move on to the next color. Next color is going to be Cygor Brown. We're going to be painting this little strap right here. So you can tie it on, keep you guys sitting on the back of this big old beastie. The color I'm going to use for this is Cygor Brown. It's one of my go-to colors for anything leather. Alright, I'm going to finish this up and come back. Alrighty, with that color done, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one we're going to do a little Baal Red. The reason I'm doing this because I'm doing this in the colors of Talabek lands, excuse me, not to say the province, and their colors are red and yellow. So I'm going to, on the box art, if you look at it, it halves it and does the blue and the white. And that's for Midland. Sigismund is the ruler at the time. But since I'm not doing that province for mine, I need to do it in the colors of the particular province. That's totally not a requirement that you pick a province and go with it. You just paint. You're the ones painting it. You're the ones going to play it. It's just something I like to do. Nothing else. So I'll go ahead and do this. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do these reins here. This part here, and here. And I'm going to not do red and red. I'm going to do red and red, kind of switch it so it mixes it up a little bit for the eye. You gotta be careful here. This is a wreath that's gonna be, we're gonna do that in some sort of green later. So just be careful. And I like to do this one when I do a flat surfaces like this. I really like to do it in Baal Red. I'm going to use a red color because it's a nice single pigment paint, contrast color, and it covers really well. And of course we'll go with other colors later to kind of get it to where we want it. But I'm going to finish this up and I'll be right back with the next color. Okay, now that's done, we're going to move to the other half of the shield and the reins. And the other color for Talabek land is a yellow. So the first color we're going to start with is Imperial Fist. And again, this is one I like to use on flat surfaces. That's a little better. On flat surfaces, because this is another single pigment contrast paint. And it just covers really nice. We got that. And because we did this side here. We're going to do this side here. And just alternate, just for a little fun. It's all on the same side. It's kind of boring. Okay, I'll go ahead and finish this one up, and then we'll be right back to the next stuff. Now that we're done with that, we are going to go ahead and do the cross. And the color I'm going to use for that, it looks like I need to do some touch up here and here, kind of even that out. That's all right. It is Black Legion. I'll go ahead and get this in the cross. Leave this color alone. Be real careful. I'll finish this up and we'll be right back. All right. Now on to the next step, and we're going to go ahead and color this little skull right in here. The color when you use that is Skeleton Horde. Skeleton Horde is a very good color for bone. Obviously, skeleton can come out a little darker, so you can either use that, or really light, you can use Seraphim Sepia as well. All right, that's that. Be back with the next color. Right, now that step's done, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one is going to be, we're going to be doing some dry brushing on the body and the wings. And the color we're going to use for this is Karak Stone. We're going to be doing dry brushing a little bit differently. We're going to be catching the edges. Okay, not doing a circular motion. This is just to catch the edges. We're not looking to get much into the wings, or into the feathers. We're mainly just get some more paint on here. I'm just going to try to do a light dry brush and just catch the edges. The reason why we're doing this, if you go ahead and look at pictures of the bald eagle, which we're trying to model this after, right? They have what appears to be nice bright colors around, or nice white or light color around the edge of their feathers. And so the way we're going to simulate that here is by lightly adding the edges with a flat dry brush and Karak Stone. Now you think Karak Stone, well, you're thinking, Lickety, Karak Stone's not really a bright color. Oops, a little much there. Got to go back and touch it up. Well, you'd be right. But when you take a color like Karak Stone, which here it is, and you put it on a dark color like what we've got, which is Black Legion, and then dry brush with Rhinox Hide, it ends up looking pretty bright. So it gives a nice edge to it. And what we're trying to do is just catch the edges on this one. Right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then we'll be right back. Right, now that step's done, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one, and that's going to be putting some white scar. Let's finish up the head. Yeah, we're going to just lightly brush the across, catch the higher parts. Not trying to do too much, just trying to hit the higher ridges. See if we can accentuate the colors a little bit. Some of you may be asking, Lickety, why haven't you done these straps? Well, this step right here and the previous one before it around this area is exactly why. I knew I was going to be going over it, so I did work on it and then dry brush around it. Well, I'd have to go back and correct it, wouldn't I? That doesn't seem like a very useful way of doing things. Comes back to planning out what you're trying to do and making sure you're trying to be as efficient as possible, because I like to get, done with stuff so I can play with it rather than always just painting. That's the goal of my painting, is to get it looking nice but get it on the tabletop. I told you before, I don't do this to enter contests. If I was doing painting contests on a regular basis, and the way I'd be doing it when I show you, whoops, would be a little bit different. Yeah, I'm going to go and finish this up and we'll be back with the next one. On the next color then. Next color is going to be Volupus Pink. I'm going to use this to paint the tongues and the inside of the mouth. It's actually a pretty standard color for me for inside of most things' mouths. Trying to get it up there on the roof of the mouth. And just get it around. There we go. Oops. Get that off the tip there. Try not to get it. It's okay to do a little bit on the edge, but not what you're looking for. Yeah, let's see. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll be right back. Now, next step is going to be we're going to take care of these straps, and I'm going to go back again to my fallback for a lot of leather and use Cygor Brown. Along there, and just be very careful. Got a little bit on there, but that's okay. I'm going to go back over that with a metallic, so that'll cover that right up. Not a problem. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this color up. Okay, the next color we're going to do this little wreath here. I'm going to do it in some Karandras Green. Just get it in there. Take your time. There's no rush. Make a little mistake. It's okay, we can fix it. Take a little bit off down there. Okay, I'm going to finish this up. Next step we're going to be doing is some generic metallic details. We're going to be go ahead and do this part of the bridle, this chain right, and this chain right in here, and of course this part over here. The color we're going to use for that is some thinned down iron hand steel. Go ahead and apply it on there nice and smooth. Just get it in there. Take your time so you don't make any mistakes and have any corrections to do. I don't know about you, but a lot of the times when I spent a lot of time on figures, it's been correcting a lot of stuff. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this chain and this up, and then we'll be back with the next step. Okay, now we're going to move on to our next color, and our next color is going to be some Nuln Oil. Now I'm going to put this on the claws over the black legion, because I want those claws to be very nice dark black. And the way you can get a nice smooth dark black is you have black legion and then you put Nuln Oil over it, and it turns out really nice. I'm going to do this for all the claws in the front and the back. Okay, I will be right back with that, and then we'll move on to our next color. And our next color is going to be a mixture of two colors. It's going to be 5 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Black Templar. And we're going to use this to shade the Grey Knight Steel area. I won't do a ton to the Grey Knight Steel, but it'll get around on the edges and do a nice job providing some distinction. Get a little bit out of there. That's a bit too much. All right, let me finish this up. We'll be back now. That's all applied. We'll go ahead and go on to our next step. We'll go over the red areas on the shield and here, and the next step to Baal Red is going to be some Fuegan Orange. We'll apply it to there. Whereas the Baal Red is nice and flat, this will kind of rich color a little bit. It'll also get in some of the kind of nooks and crannies, get a little bit of depth. Alright, finish up. We'll be right back. Okay, with that Fuegan Orange all applied, we'll go ahead and go to the yellow part and we'll put in some Casandora Yellow. And there, we'll move on to the next color. All right, with that done, we're gonna move on to the next color, but I did do one additional color that didn't cover. I added a little Nuln Oil to this black parts here. And again, it makes your black really pop, like you got a lot of talents. So I always do the Black Legion and then I followed up with that. The next color we're gonna be doing is Guilliman Flesh, and we're going to be doing it on all of the Retributor Armor. Now, some people say that you should use Rhinox Flesh shade, and that's just as viable, because basically Rhinox Flesh shade is very, very thin down Guilliman Flesh. And it won't provide you as deep of a contrast, but I use it on small areas where there really isn't that deep of a contrast. So otherwise, areas like this where I want more contrast between the levels, so I can see some more of the details like this, I'll go ahead and go with Guilliman Flesh because I just like it. But either way is fine. Neither way is one is not correct and one is not wrong. It's just different. But it gets you to where you want to be, and that's what's important. I happen to prefer, for the most part, Guilliman Flesh, especially if you're going to do flat areas, then it's definitely Guilliman Flesh. There's no question. You can do flat areas like if you go and look at some Age of Sigmar stuff, some of the Stormcast Eternals, they are much better. The Hammers of Sigmar is definitely a case. You can look those up. It's definitely a case for Guilliman Flesh, because you go in the like this seat here, right? A lot of flat areas. You're going to go on probably layered a little bit with some Retributor Armor level later, so you definitely want to use the Guilliman Flesh in this area. But again, 6 1/2 dozen other you. It's going to depend on what you like. It's just my choice. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we will be right. With that done, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next stage. And the next color we're going to be using will be a little bit of Karak Stone. A little bit too much on there. And we're going to be using is the highlight on the claws. So we can edge highlight about halfway up. Let's go it this way. So I edge it like so. And I edge it. And I edge it. This provides a little bit of distinction, but it's really a simple quick highlight. That's basically all you're doing. I'll go ahead and finish them all up. And right. With that done, we're going to move on to the eyes, starting the eyes. First step in the eyes is we're going to paint the whole pupil. And the color we're going to use for this is Ironjawz Yellow. We'll go ahead and paint them in, like so. Let's see. I hope you can see this. Okay. And a little bit too much. There we go. And we'll be back with the next step. Okay, with that done, we're going to go on to the next phase, and we're going to be highlighting these Retributor Armor fairies that we put Guilliman Flesh on. We're going to be doing it with a nice dry brush of just Retributor Armor. We'll be coming back later with another highlight to bring it out, bring out the edges even more. Kind of doing it. I want to leave some of the deeper recesses alone. Right. We'll go over here. Be very careful. More of the brush. Okay. Go ahead. Highlight it. Just more. And we'll be back with the next color step. We're going to continue on with the Retributor Armor section, and we're going to do a mixture. 2 parts Retributor Armor to 1 part Stormhost Silver. And this one we're going to edge. Do it nice and easy. So it's just picking out the edges. You can do this one nice and easy, nice and light. Not trying to get everything. Just trying to pick up the higher edges. All right. Let's see. A little more in here. And we'll come back with the next color. On to the next color, and the next color will be some Iron Hands. Some Iron Hands steel. And we're working on that breastplate again. We can do some of the flatter parts in between. Some edge highlighting as well on this. Okay, and we'll bring on the next color. And the next color for the breastplate will be some Stormhost Silver, and we're going to concentrate not so much on edge highlighting, but like the sharpest points. Something to make it pop just a little itty bit more. We'll be back with the next color. Next step, so we're going to be finishing up the yellow sections. We're going to be using a little bit of Flash Gitz Yellow to do some edge highlighting. Not a whole lot, because like here there's not a whole lot to do. Even back here. Let's see, can you see that? There we go. That should be good. Go ahead and just do some edging. And I'll do that. Back with the next color is we're going to do some edge highlighting for the red areas. It's a little piece. And the color we're going to be using is Evil Sunz Scarlet. And this will just be to hit the edges and highlights, right? Just something to make it pop just a little bit more. And just edge it. Alright, we'll be back with the next color. Alright, we're going to work on the final steps. And on the final steps is doing lettering. I already started here a little bit. Just for some testing. I'm going to use some Blood Angels Red. See if we can get the lettering. Make this pop a little bit. This appears to be working very well because Blood Angels Red is a good multi-pigment paint. Let's see what we got over here. Move this over, so we'll knock it over. There we go. So even though it's going into some of the recesses, what is on the highlight, what is on the high side is going to be lighter, because the darker pigments will go lower. Don't want to overdo it too much. It does make it a little easier when you do stuff like this. Alright, that's that set. Be back. Okay, now we're down to the secret sauce. We got everything to do, we got one more little step to do. This is something I do on virtually all my figures. You can do it on just about anything. I hit it with a very light dry brush of Screaming Skull. The Screaming Skull is a good neutral highlight for virtually every color, including metallics. So you can virtually throw it on just about anything. And most of my stuff I do, you just don't do too much, just a little bit. Catch the little edges. You know, just a little bit extra, catches, makes a little bit extra fit. Oh, looks like I got something to fix there. I'll go ahead and fix that later. Alright, next step is what we're going to do is we're going to finish up the eyes. What we're going to do is a little dot of black lesion. So there we go. Right in the eyes. For the pupil. There we go. That one there. That one there. And that one there. Alright, now we're going to do this little stone that he's standing on. And the color we're going to use for this is Gryph-Charger Grey. This is nice. Tone to the stone. I kind of like it. And you hit this with a little dry brush of Screaming Skull afterwards to catch the edges, and you're good to go. Alright, now that the Griffon is all done, we're going to go ahead and move on to the rider, or General of the Empire. And the first color we're going to start with is Grey Knight Steel. Take a little bit thin down, and we're going to paint it on all of his plate armor. But we're going to miss the knees and the shoulder pads and this figure up here. The rest of the plate armor will end up in this color. Again, thin down a little bit. And again, there's no exact method of ratio of how much it needs to be thinned down, how much water, how much paint. You're just gonna have to kind of play it by ear, because you know how hot and humid it is where you are, or what exactly the look is you're going for. Are you gonna go with one coat or two thin coats? It's all gonna make a difference. But I think the most important thing is that it flows off your brush nice and easy. That way it helps you with the control. Because when it's dried and clumpy, you're not sure how it's going to head off the brush. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Putting all this Greenite steel on his plate, and now all that Greenite steel is applied, we're going to go ahead and get this little part of chainmail back here. And the color we're going to use on it initially, first color, is going to be Iron Hand Steel. Just going to get it in there. Okay, I'll finish that and be ready. Alright, now that color's applied, we're going to move on to the next one. And the next one is going to be some Retributor Armor. We're going to do that on his knees, his shoulders, pauldrons, this little figure up here, and the head of his Warhammer. And this little cross in the middle here. We're going to thin it down a little bit. A little bit too much on there. Take a little bit off. Nice and smooth. Taking our time. Okay. We'll go on to the next one. A little bit too much. Take them off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and I'll be right back. Alright, well, the Retributor Armor applied. The next color we're going to move to is Nuln Oil. And we're going to place this on his sash. A little much. Good base color, because we're going to come back and paint this white later. Alright, I'm going to finish this up and then we'll be right on to the next color. And the next color will be Guilliman Flesh. Let me go ahead and let's see. There we go, that's better. Probably a little bit too much. And we'll be right back. The next color. Next color will be Blood Angels Red. And we're gonna paint it on some of the feathers. We'll go ahead and alternate the colors. Since it's Talabek land, we'll have a red feather, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow. Right now I'm going to do the reds. I like to do themes in armies, something to make it more cohesive. And if I can base it around something in the lore, like a province, I like to do that. And then I like to stick to it as far as the composition goes. Not the best pure tournament idea, but I kind of like it. All right, I will go ahead and finish this step up and be right back. All right, now that step's done, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next color. And our next color is going to be Iyanden Yellow. I like to use this as a yellow color for stuff with a lot of recesses like this one. It's a good two-tone one where you can see it's getting some of the darker reds into the recesses, and a nice yellows, and a darker yellow, I guess, is sitting up on top. But it's a good, for me, I found this is a good color. You can start with something like this, and then we can go over it later and highlight it with some other colors to bring the yellow out more. But I'm just a fan of the way it looks, so I use it. There might be better ways to do it. I don't know. Works for me. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and then we'll be right. All right, now that we're done with that color, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one is going to be a mixture, 5-to-1 mixture of Lahmian Medium with Black Templar. So we can get into the recesses, give it some shading, add a little depth. Otherwise, if you don't do something like this, then the painted metal armor can just look flat, no depth. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and be right back. Alright, now with that step done, we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to be shading all this gold area, and we're going to do that with some Guilliman Flesh. I've been having a little trouble with the camera seeming not wanting to focus properly. There we go. Too much on there. Alright. I'll be right back when I'm all done. Alright. Once that color's done, we're going to move on to the grips of the weapon. For this color, for this thing, I'm going to use Volupus Pink. It's a nice contrast, I think. For the grips of the weapon. Right now that we're done that color, we're going to go ahead and work on the sash a bit. The first color we're going to use on this is going to be Corax White. I'm going to go through and get all the high edges. Leave the deep recesses. Felt like I had a little bit too much in the brush there to get control. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and then we'll be back. Now that's all done. We're going to go ahead and use some Evil Sunz Scarlet and highlight the red feathers. Just a light dry brush. Don't want to have too much on your brush. You want to be able to just lightly go over it and lightly catch the edges. Slowly build it up. You got too much on, it will go down to into the recesses, and we don't want that. Since you're not trying to take over the part or the color, you're just trying to accentuate it and give it some more depth. And once I'm done with this, we'll be back with the next one. All right, now if that's done, we're going to move on to our next color. And our next color is Flash Gitz Yellow. And we're going to go ahead and, again, hit a nice dry brush, very light, very easy on the feathers. Bring out the ridges, accentuate the yellow in there, add some highlights to it. I'll go ahead and finish this up and be right back. All right, now we're going to go on to the next color. And the next color will be some Retributor Armor, which we're going to hit the hammer, the shoulder pads, knees, and of course the headdress. Not looking to overwhelm it. Just looking to give that Guilliman Flesh some depth. Just hit the highlights to bring them out. I'll go ahead and finish it. All right, with that color done, we're going to move on to our next color. And our next color is going to be some white scar. I'm going to use this on the sash just to further highlight it, add more depth, and just bring it out a bit. Not looking to add a ton. Just more edges. I'm gonna go ahead and work more on this and then be ready. All right, now on to the next color. We're gonna do some iron hand steel, so you kind of paint up the granite steel. Not looking to like cover it up, just looking to highlight it, paint up some of the ridges. So I want to keep that color, that bluish tint of the granite steel. Overall, so I'm not going to go too deep. I'm not going to relayer everything. Just hit more of the ridges and the higher spots. To add even more depth to it. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll be back with the next. All right, now that that's done, we're going to move on to the final highlight for the gold. And what we're going to do is use some Liberator Gold to catch the higher ridges and higher points. Just add yet another layer for some more depth. Just catching those higher spots, not hitting it too much. I'm going to go and finish this up and we'll be back with the next. All right, now that's done, we're going to go and hit the silver part of the armor with a little highlight of Stormhost Silver. Now this is like really, oh, sorry. Just trying to catch the highest points. It's not something that's going to be a lot of. Trying to add that little extra shine to it, like it's catching light or something. All right, I'll be right back. Next step's going to be a little bit of Black Legion. And get it in the eyes. There we go. A little bit there. And there. Once you got that, you're going to get a little bit of Screaming Skull. And we'll just put a little dot in each corner of the eye. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe as it really helps the channel out. I try to concentrate on techniques that give you the most bang for the buck. Now it may not win you a golden demon, but it'll look good. And it'll get it on the tabletop for you, lickety split.
Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.